Well, now he joins us. That's Mr. Solomon Shoyabi, who is INEC's National Commissioner for Voter Education and Publicity. Good morning, and thank you for joining us today. Well, this announcement that you made, is it a well thought out one before you made the announcement on behalf of INEC?
Well, let me correct you. I did not personally make an announcement. That was the Commission's announcement. And if you listened very carefully to the announcement, just like I've noticed, so many people have termed it the 2019 timetable. It is not so. What we gave yesterday was following we imbibed the spirit of good practice. And what we did was to predict and determine the dates election will hold towards end of tenures. It wasn't targeted at 2019. That's the first correction I want to make here. The announcement clearly and simply says that for any election year, what the Commission will propose as the date is the Saturday, which hovers around the 100 days to the end of tenure period for that election. So we just used the 2019 as an example. Even from what we have said, any Nigerian could sit down now and extrapolate what we have for the dates you can have for 2023, 2027, even 2039, based on that principle. It's a principle which we have established that whatever election we want to do, we must do it at least about 100 days to the end of tenure of the incumbent holder. That's simply what we said yesterday. It was just coincidental that we had to use 219 as an example of that formula. It is a formula, really, that if there is a terminal end for any tenure, conduct this within 100 days, the Saturday that hovers around 100 days to the end of that terminal date or the end of tenure. So as we sit and speak today, the Lord makes provision for the 150 days to 30 days range for conducting elections. But we believe for proper management, and in case something goes wrong with the election, 100 days should be enough days for us to conduct an election to the end of tenure. If I
understand you properly, what you're saying is that the entire media missed it. What you announced is not the 2019 election timetable. It's a prediction of what you would want to happen as INEC.
It's not a prediction. It's a practice which we intend to operate. We have the power to fix elections, but what we have said is that we have formulated a formula for, let me put it that way, formulated a formula for conducting this end of tenure elections. And this can be determined by calculation, which was what we did for 2019, that if we hover around the third week in February of the election year, in the broadcast we made, we use this so many times, election year. For every election year, 2019 being one of them was used as an example, 100 days which hovers around the end of tenure will be the election date. We stressed very, very firmly too, which was the operational word which we used. We used the 3rd February in the election year. That was what we said in the release. The 3rd February in any election year will be the presidential, and 2 weeks later, which is the first week in March of any election year, as the Lord stands as of today, will be the dates for the conduct of presidential, National Assembly elections, and then the first week in March will be the will be the date for conduct of elections in the state elections, that is the gubernatorial and, of course, the state assemblies.
You know, I did start by asking if this was a well thought out decision. Did the commission speak or have a meeting or consult with political parties before that announcement was made?
That responsibility of fixing election is being given to us solely by the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. And what we have done is that we have looked critically at the practice in all over the world. There are more than 30 countries that you can determine in an election year the date of their elections. That is simply what we have done. In Ghana, Sweden, America, you will see that each of these countries in an election year, the date is already known because there is a formula and there is a template for it. What we have done is to give a template by saying that if we are going to have election, it must over about 100 days because we have that choice of 150 to 30 days. For enough ventilation, what we have done is to choose the 100 days window or decided that over around that 100 days to conduct this election. It's not targeted at 2019 alone, it's targeted at all the future elections. That's exactly what we are saying. It's a date which it's not just one date, it's a period which I've chosen for election, and I want to believe that within the purview of the law and within our constitutional mandates, we are the only person that has the right to do this.
Well, nobody's questioning the right of INEC to do that, but now we've seen politicians responding differently. So I did ask, did the commission consult or speak with political parties to avoid any confusion before that announcement was made?
Let me assure you of one thing. In matters of policy like this, which have to do with the political parties as end users, we did not consult them, although we are going to have a meeting with them next week and tell them. And they are very much aware too that we have about 40 political parties, and we know the terrain as we sit down today. There is no way these political parties will come together for a particular cause. You will see that you always see opposition or counter opposition, everything, that's what we will have. But as I told you, this is a principle which we are injecting into the electoral system. It's not even about the date. It's just about the principle that we should be able to determine when election will happen in an election year. And that's the determination or the predetermination of what we have done using the 100-day window. And that really axes the 16th of February for 2019 and 2nd of March for 2019 as the dates for election. It's the principle rather than the date which we set up.
Mr. Shoaib, one would imagine that before you make this kind of announcement, other political parties would have been carried along, because now you're having a situation where some of them are crying that you have an ulterior motive to the announcement of this date that you have fixed. Don't you suppose that you would have taken them along before and had that stakeholders meeting before making this kind of announcement?
Then we would be allowing the political parties to choose the date of elections. And I don't believe that is healthy for our democracy. Don't forget that 2 weeks ago, we made an announcement about the dates for election in Anambra 2017. We did not consult any political party before we did that. And in all the previous elections we have had, I can't remember a single one where we made consultation before these dates were fixed. It's always been we fix the date and then we actually tell them about the date. Let me correct one thing. This does not translate into timetable for 2019 election. It's only the predictable date or the predicted date using the principle for 2019. The timetable for the election will come up. There are legal deadlines, the timelines for all this, and this will follow just like we did in Anambra. This is not the timetable. It is just the date. We have just announced the date based on the principle of good practice of determining when an election will take place in an election year. This does not affect 2019 alone. As I said, it's going to affect 2023. Anybody can sit down and determine what 2023 dates will be, 2027. As a matter of fact, 3039, you can sit down in your house based on this principle and determine that, or in the year 3039, this is the date election will take place. This is far, far different from our election timetable. We have not given out any timetable. We are mindful of the fact that the electoral rules may change. There is one thing that will not change. The end of term will not change. And the conduct of election before the end of term will not change.